Alright, so today we're talking about skin, and here what you'll see is a diagram of skin, and it's an exploded diagram, and basically the point of this one is that we can see that skin is made up of separate layers. Now, obviously there are some things which go through layers. For example, we have the sweat gland here. Obviously the big one here is hair. Some only go through a couple, and these are sensory receptors and neurons, and yeah, so skin is made of layers that are separate and discrete. They are touching, they are connected, and that is important, but they are separate layers. Alright, so here is our detailed diagram of skin, of the structure of skin, and if you wish to have this in a bit more detail, Google images skin structure, biology forums. This comes from biologyforums.com. Now we're going to skip over this and come back to that when we're talking about the dermis. But right now we're going to start with the epidermis. It is the uppermost layer, and it's tightly packed. You can see that Now, there's a lot going on in the epidermis. It's actually the smallest of the layers, but you'll see that it has lots of sub-layers there as well. But there's still, it's probably the most complex. You see that it has sub-layers. Alright, first off, keratinocytes, which is keratinocytes. Now, these make up a solid 90% of cells. They produce keratin. Now, keratin is a structural protein, so it gives the skin strength and shape. Now, they start off young, sort of around the bottom here. Okay, so that's where they're produced lowest, so produced in the lowest layers, and as they get older, they migrate up. So produced and they migrate up as they mature. Basically, younger cells down the bottom, older cells at the top. On their way up, they will start to die. They'll fill up with keratin as they go, and then they'll start to die. And when they die, so back here is saying to die, they get packed in really tight. So dead cells packed in ultra tight at the top. Now, when doing that, the keratin, it starts to produce a protein called, when it's dead, produces a protein called glycolipid. Now, glycolipid, it coats the cells, and it's waterproof, and that's what makes skin waterproof. And eventually they'll slough off and be replaced with the next row as you're coming up. Several other things we have. We have melanocytes. About 10%. Okay. Produces melanin. And the melanin is then distributed throughout all the other cells. Here it is, and it produces it as it goes out. Now, as the sun comes down and stimulates it, that actually stimulates the overall production of melanin. So when UV light hits it, that causes it to produce more melanin. You also have the Merkel cells, which is this one here. That's your Merkel cell. That's a nerve receptor. So they're concentrated in the fingertips especially, and anywhere you can feel touch. And this, as you see, is a sensory neuron on the way down. And finally, you have what are they called? The Langerhans. These are produced in the bone marrow, and they make the whole thing like that. So they're your immune cell. So if you cut your skin, that's what causes inflammation and allows the protection there. Now we're going to focus on the dermis now, and it has fewer cells. It's mostly made up of collagen and elastin. These are fibrous tissues, fibrous proteins, if you will, and they are produced in the fibroblasts. Now, it has other structures within it. It has the Papier muscles, which that's what makes your hair stand on end. So that is the thermal Papier. Oh, sorry. My mistake. Papier is still like that. Alright. Now there are lower layers. You have this layer here, and that is it's dermis. For our sense of person, we call it dermis, and that is chock-a-block full of adipose tissue. That's your fat. Those are cells filled with fat and oils. Just finally, while we're at it, we have also hair follicles. Hair follicles. It's very important to notice that hair follicles have a blood supply, and that's where the hair comes from. Okay. Also, you'll have sweat glands here, and that will send sweat up through the pores, and that's there for thermal regulation, temperature regulation. Very important as part of your keeping your skin as a waterproof barrier is this area here, this sebaceous gland. It produces sebum and pumps that up through the hair follicles up this way. And sebum is really important to you teenagers because it's what makes you oily and gross. It is the oily stuff the sebum is the oily stuff that comes up, and when that gets blocked, that is where you get your blackheads. That's where they come from. Alright, that's skin. Your next job, the homework, is to ignore that. Your next job for homework is to now talk about the different functions and tabulate that. So that is protection. These are the functions of the skin. I want you to tabulate these. So you go like this, sort of what it does, and a description of how. Okay, so protection, regulation of body temperature, which we called thermal regulation earlier, sensation, little clue, Merkel cells, so sensation there, excretion, defense against disease. There's actually several steps there. Oh, that was tough. And finally, blood reservoir. Yeah. All right. That's her up. Well done. Enjoy, and I will